Everybody, I recently did a video where I I said advice for ladies on the dating apps, um and someone made a comment. They were like, "Well, what advice would you give them offline for the offline things?" Um, well, advice for the ladies I would give offline is to quit being picky. Basically, quit being picky. If a guy asks you out on a date in public, in person, go out on a date with him. Like, stop using excuses. If you're single and you don't actually have a boyfriend, stop making excuses. Don't make excuses based off of the guy's looks, based off the guy's uh, like, just go out with every guy that asks you out. That's about the only thing I can stand for. And also, first dates should be free. So if he asks you out on a date, don't ghost him. Go out on a date with him and see what happens. I mean, that's the advice I can give. Stop trying to find a man based off of prerequisites. Quit trying to have prerequisites to men. And agree to go out on a date with every guy and actually go out on a date with every guy. And make sure that it's a date that is something that y'all can do together that costs absolutely nothing. Something free. Whether that's attending a free event in your community or your city, or attending free church services, or going to a public park where it's free, or maybe walking in the mall together where, again, it's free. Y'all can both meet. And if you know, do something free. Even if it costs money, it shouldn't cost him any money for for you, and it shouldn't cost you any money for him. Y'all should agree to do something together that is free, even if it costs money. Meaning, you should arrive with your own vehicle, he should arrive with his own vehicle, and y'all should do something that doesn't cost either one of you money for the other one. First date should be free. A first date is just meeting the person and getting to know each other. That's what a first date is supposed to be. So go out with every guy. Stop having prerequisites. Stop trying to get men for their money, or judging men on their looks, or judging men on their height. So lower your standards. One, lower your standards. Two, date any guy that asks you out on a date. And three, make sure all dates, at least for the first date anyway, are free. So the guy won't. So stop expecting men to pay for the first date. First date should be free. Stop expecting men to pay for the first date. And stop rejecting men who ask you out on a date because they're not cute. They're not hot. They're not attractive. Stop judging men based off of looks and start judging men based off of personalities. Judging men based off how much money is in their bank account, but based off of their personality account. How good are they? How nice are they? How much do you like them for who they actually are? And guys, I will say this kind of sort of also applies to you. Guys, stop dating girls or trying to get with girls that are hot and sexy and very attractive. You probably would have better luck going after the mids. Not to say that the mids and the Uggs aren't also probably, possibly, their body count might be lower because of the fact that they're mid, but that doesn't necessarily make that true. I mean, some of the biggest 304s are mids. Some of the biggest 304s are actually literally the least attractive. I mean, some of the least attractive girls have some of the highest body counts that I can think of. Because they will do anything and everything for the people and guys that give them actual attention. So, if you think about that, that means they're dating every guy that asks them out. And the guys, for the most part, that are asking them out, they're putting out and they're giving out to whoever will have them. And some guys just want to get some, and they'll go after mids, and they'll maybe or lower, and they'll just get with them so they can get some. I mean, honestly, guys, you might have better luck getting with a girl that's not attractive. Just saying. These mid chicks and these Ugg chicks and these unhealthy chicks that need to lose some weight, some of them are the most provocative and promiscuous chicks that you could even think about. Uh, they're not the right type of girl to get with, but if you are in the market to just get laid, these chicks probably are your safer bet. Uh, Now, there might not be the Marion kind. They might not be even have a good personality. They might not even have any good skills that you as a man are actually looking for. But if you're trying to, I mean, honestly, if you are just trying to get some, which I know there's men out there that are just trying to get some, maybe you should go after the mids. I'm just saying. And if you're not if you're actually trying to get a certain type of lady, maybe you should try to get that type of lady, but don't worry too much about the if you're looking, don't worry too much about the beauty standards and the attractive standards, because look, no girl is as pretty as you think she is. And here's why. One, the majority of all girls wear makeup. They doll themselves up. They wear makeup, they wear lots of makeup, and they make themselves look prettier than they actually are. If they were naturally beautiful and pretty, they would need no makeup at all. There would be no reason to put all this makeup on and wear all this lotions and all these different things if they were naturally pretty. Okay? They wouldn't have to use special shampoos and different things if they were naturally pretty. Right? If they had naturally pretty hair, they wouldn't have to get their hair did, right? If they had naturally good looks, they wouldn't have to do these things. If they were naturally good looking, they wouldn't have to try to draw more attention to themselves. So, beauty fades, right? When they take the makeup off, right? Reason two is everybody ages. Everybody's going to age, and women age worse than men. Men actually age like fine wine, which means that men, they get better in age. They start improving the older they get. They look better. As long as a man tries to keep healthy, physically fit, he will look better in age. That's why most girls like to date older men, right? They like to date older men because older men, not only do they look better in age, but they're more wiser, they're more mature, they're and they've more established themselves. They know what they want. They go after what they want. They got a system now. They got they're in that range, right? And women kind of like that because that means the man is stable. That means the man is grounded. That means the man is mature. He's rooted. He's established himself. He's good with who he is. He knows what he wants. He knows what he likes. He knows what he dislikes, and he's there, right? Okay. And that is what women are attracted to, that in older men, right? So women, on the other hand, they're extremely beautiful the younger they are. Like when a woman develops, when she reaches maturity, she is beautiful and attractive from a from a physical standpoint, right? But as she ages, she gets wrinkles on her face, lines on her face. She has to put more and more makeup on, and she eventually gets, and of course, she gets frail and other frailties and stuff, right? So, if you're going to be with a woman, theoretically, for a long period of time, possibly the rest of your and her life, you're going to notice and realize that every woman ages. So if you're only wanting to be attracted because of their beauty standards, even the most beautiful girl that you find, in a little bit of time, is going to start aging, and you're going to have to dump her and go after another younger model, right? I mean, if that is your only reason for getting with a girl is because she's pretty, then you're not going after personality. If you want to actually go after someone that is compatible with you and is your type of standard that you're looking for, then you as a guy should probably stop worrying about beauty, because you know you're going to be with this person the rest of your life, and you and her are both going to age. So you as girls need to stop worrying about a guy's looks. Like, seriously, worrying about his being attracted to his looks is retarded. You should be attracted to his personality, who he is, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he does, what he doesn't do, how he treats certain individuals, how he doesn't treat certain individuals. What's his what's his politics? What's his religion? How do these factor in his everyday personal belief systems? All these are things you should be considering because you should want to be with this person for life, forever. And if you only want to be with them because they're cute or they're hot or they're attractive or whatever you want to call it, you're being selfish to yourself. One, and also if you're only attracted to him because he's got cha-ching, you're a gold digger and you're being selfish again to yourself. If you're only attracted to a man on the basis of what you can get out of the deal, that's a terrible attractiveness quality. If all you think is what can I get out of the deal instead of what can I bring to the deal, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. Shouldn't you be looking for someone that you're compatible with for the rest of your life, not be looking for someone that just looks hot and can rock my world? I mean, your world would get rocked if you could find a guy that is compatible with you, and he's compatible with her, and maybe you're both mids or whatever, and y'all got a lot in common, and y'all want to raise a family, and you don't necessarily have to be rich, and you don't necessarily have to. He doesn't have to have it all together. You don't have to have it all together, and both of you take each other for who you are and what you are. So change your standards, change your preferences, change your dating situations, and just you know, actually learn some skills. Like ladies, it would be very helpful if y'all could learn some skills because skills are valuable. Men learn skills so they can improve themselves. Women, you can do the same thing. Learn skills so you can improve yourself. Because if the goal, which is what the goal is marriage, the goal is procreation for children in the future, you women should learn skills of how to take care of children. You should learn skills, and these are the skills men want a woman to learn. Men don't want a woman to know how to cook and clean just for himself. Men want a woman that knows how to cook and clean because he wants to create a child with that woman, and he wants to know that when he leaves that child with that woman, she will also cook and clean and take care of the child. See, men want certain things from women, and the reason they want these certain things from women is because men want mates. We want helpmates, and we want women that will produce children, and they will be good with the children. Okay? So if a girl's not good with her husband or her boyfriend, how is she going to be good with her child? This is this is the mentality of a man, right? So a mentality of a man is, if she can't do this for me, she won't do it for our kids. If she's mean to me, she'll be mean to our children. If she argues and fights with me, she will argue and fight with our kids. Anything that the girl does to the man, he is assuming that she will be that way with their children, their future children. So a man, from a man's perspective, he goes, this is what I need her to be able to do, because one day, if this works out, we will get married, we will have children, and she needs to be able to do all this for me to prove that she can do it for our children. So, girls, you need to be able to prove that you could take care of a child. And to do that, you prove that you could take care of your man. Also, men tend to die before women, right? Most of the time, right? And if women date, they marry up, right? And they usually marry older. Women, usually on average, not always the case, but on average, women date up. So they date a man that's better than them. And they date older. So, of course, if you date older and you date up and you end up marrying that person, usually the man will die first. And even men on average, generally, have shorter lifespans than women. So not only does a guy need to know if you can see, so it's about the potential children, but it's also about the potential, can you take care of him when he gets older and can't take care of himself as much, right? So you prove to the guy when he's healthy that you can take care of him when he's unhealthy. Because it's supposed to be richer or poor, sickness and in health, till death do us part. Those are the vows, right? So you have to prove that you can take care of him when you're young and dating, when he's young and dating you, so that when you're still together, when you're older and something else maybe happens, you can still prove it. So it's both, you're both proving to him that you can take care of children by taking care of him, and you're proving to him that you can take care of him later down the line. Also, being submissive and obedient and respecting of the man that you're with proves to him that you will follow his orders and follow his commands, and you will let him lead without causing arguments, fights, debates, disruptions, and all those other things which men don't like. Men prefer peace. It will also mean that if you know how to submit and do and respect the man when you are dating, then he'll know you'll do it when you're married. Also, he'll know that if you can submit to his authority and head and leadership over the household, when the children do stuff wrong, y'all will play ball. You will be united, right? So basically, you will be united in your child rearing, and you will know his rules, and you will already know his rules, and you will know those are also going to apply to the children. And that means when you have the children, they won't be able to go for, children do this. They'll ask mom something, and if they get a no from mom, they'll go ask dad, right? But if mom and dad, if mom is naturally submissive already to dad, and she was that way when they were dating, she already knows the rules, and she already knows that this is how dad is going to want to raise kids, right? So when mom says no or yes or whatever to whatever the situation is, and the kid goes to dad, they will already both be telling the kid that no. So they'll be united. Like if dad says no, they won't be able to go to mom and get a yes, because mom will already know dad said no, so mom will also say no, and vice versa. So if mom says no because she knows dad would say no, then the kid can't go up to dad and try to get a yes, because, or they can try, but they'll just get another no. See, because they're on the same page. because if he's leading his home well, that means that the wife will back his play, right? Whatever the man wants to do in his life, and however the man wants to raise the children, and however the man wants to lead, the lady that is submissive and respectful of her man during dating will be that way in marriage, right? So that's another thing, right? So that's that. So yeah. Anyway, so that is why you should be respectful and submissive to the man you're dating. Disrespect proves is bad. Do not be disrespectful. And in general, you should probably be respectful of all men in general. Unless they do something that is blatantly disrespectful, then you probably shouldn't be. But you should take into account that he's a man and he doesn't see things from the lady's perspective. And men, we probably maybe should take into account that women don't see things from our perspective, because men and women can watch the same thing and get two different stories from it. Men and women can say the same thing and hear two different things. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a political story. It could be a news story. Um, it could be anything. Women will hear, like, okay, if you're a woman watching this, you will hear a totally different message than what I'm probably saying. And men that are watching this, you will hear something totally different than the woman hears. I'm saying the same thing, but a man and a woman will hear two different things, even though they heard the same thing. They could literally hear the exact same or see the exact same story and have two different thought processes. So you could have two so totally separate thought processes, right? But the same exact thing was said. I recently said something to both my mom and dad, and the interesting thing is dad heard one thing and mom heard another thing. Neither of them heard what I said for what I said. They both thought I meant two different things when I meant what I said, right? So that's what I mean is men and women will hear two separate things. Even though they were told the exact same thing. So we need to keep in mind that both women and men need to keep in mind that when a woman says something, that's not necessarily what she means, even though she should say what she means and means what she says. And when a man says something, women need to take into account he probably means exactly what he said. While on the other hand, when women say something, she probably means something more than just what she said. So take that with a little, grain of salt there. A little, everything, you should take everything with a grain of salt too, by the way. But yeah, so this is just a little bit more of how people in general should just get along more like this, right? Oh, and another thing that men hate that you women really need to stop doing is men hate being interrupted. So stop interrupting men when they're talking. Stop. Do not interrupt a man when he's talking. Wait until he's finished before asking questions. Because here's the thing. He might answer your question without you having to ask the question if you just listen and don't interrupt. Think about that for a moment. Also, another thing that you women need to stop doing is stop complaining to men about stuff if you don't want us to fix this particular thing that you're complaining about. Because men want stuff to be fixed. And we like to fix things. And we come up with solutions to problems. So if you bring a problem to us, we will naturally try to figure out how to solve said problem. If you don't want the problem solved, then don't bring it to a man. It really is that simple. You have girlfriends for that. If you want to, if you literally want to tell your problems for the day, see, here's the difference. Women like to tell their problems and bitch and complain about stuff without worrying about if there's a way to come up with a solution for it. Men, on the other hand, when we tell problems, we're trying to figure out how we can solve said problem. So we speak out loud and think out loud, and we're like, okay, I got this problem, so let's see. Here's the problem. So I talk about the problem. Here's some things that maybe we could do to solve said problem. So let's think about this. Then we think out loud and we go, we're trying to figure out from our logical mind and our analytical minds, we're trying to figure out, okay, while we're thinking about solutions to the problem, so we think out loud, we say the problem, then we think of, we could do this, so we could do that, we could do that. And then we also are like thinking also, if I do this, this is the outcome of what could possibly happen because of doing this. So maybe doing that won't work. Or I could think about doing this or that. And let me think about what could happen in. So we think both present tense, past tense, like, okay, so we think present tense, this is the problem right now. Past tense, this is what occurred to give us the problem. And also, this is ways I've dealt with the same problem in the past, and it didn't work out dealing with the problem that way, or it did work out dealing with the problem that way. And we also think in future tense, and we think that way simultaneously. That's why God is a man, because God is in past, present, and future at the same time. And God being omnipotent and omnipresent and beyond time, he can be he's literally in the past, present, and future simultaneously. So that is why God's a man, because men think the same way God thinks. But we're in the present, but the way a man thinks is the same way God thinks. Except for God doesn't necessarily think, because God, well, I mean, he does think, I guess he thinks, but he is simultaneously in the past, the present, and the future. For God, time is irrelevant. He is simultaneously, all time exists simultaneously for God. And that is how man thinks. Man thinks the way God exists, I guess. So man thinks of a problem in the present sense, while also thinking about how he's dealt with that problem in the past, and also applying what would happen if I addressed this same problem the way I addressed the problem in the past in the future. So that's how we solve problems. We have a problem now. We think of ways we have had similar problems or the exact same problem and how we've dealt with them in the past, whether they worked or didn't work. Then we apply that knowledge to how we're going to solve the problem in the future, because the future is later. So that's how we think through things. Okay? So women need to realize that that's how men think through things. And if they figured that out, they would understand where and how men are coming from and why men like to solve problems. Because we are in the present, at the past, and the future in our mind at the same time. Just like God. And that is why God made man in his own image, right? So part of that image isn't necessarily the physical image, but it's the personality and the mentality and the psychologicalness of the man. It's the personality and the way a man thinks and the mentality and the psychology of a man. Saying God made man in his own image doesn't mean that God made man to look like man, even though in a way we do look like man. So if you ever see an angel, if you ever see an angelic being will look like a human being, because we are made in the image of God from a mental. We're also made in the image of God from a soul spirit. We have a soul. We're made in the image of God. And the Bible says, let us make man, us. Let us make man and make them in our image. Now, who is in heaven at the time that God can say us to? The angelic beings. So we look like the angelic beings. Angelic beings look like us. That's why every angelic being is a male. There are no female angelic beings. There's just no female angelic beings. Every angelic being in the Bible has always appeared and come as a man, including the fallen angel Lucifer. All of them are man. They're all masculine. Angelic beings are all masculine. So, God made man in the image of the angels. Right? So we look the same. That's why it's easier for angels and demons to tempt mankind. Because when they come down to earth, they look like men. In every instance in the Bible, an angelic being was a man. They always come down looking as men. The fallen angels, and the non-fallen angels all come appearing as men. And they always have to say, fear not. The good angels always say, fear not. Lucifer, when he went and messed with Eve, he did not say, fear not. He also decided to not come looking like a man. He came looking like a snake, a serpent. So, interesting, right? Okay, but I digress. So, how can you test the spirits? If an angelic being was to show up to your face to tell you something, they're going to be like, fear not, and they're going to back, the word of God. So if a demon tells you to do something, might look like a man, but he's not going to be telling you to fear not. He's going to be telling you, hey, does the Bible really say that? Because that's the first trick Satan used on Eve. Did God really say that? Are you sure you're getting your facts straight? Anyway, yeah. So, yeah. So, you should definitely try the spirits. That's in the Bible. It says try the spirits. It says test the spirits. And it also says to have righteous judgment and righteous indignation, so that we that's in the Bible. Well, judge ye with righteous judgment, and to have righteous indignation. Righteous indignation is to be angry, but sin not. And what are we to be angry at? We are to be angry at sin. We are to be angry at things that are wrong in society. We should be angry at sin, at society, at naturally things that are wrong. So we should have righteous indignation when it comes to things that are just wrong and just not biblical and just not scriptural and just plain. It should be better. Like, things that are not done right should make a Christian mad. We should just be naturally angry at sin and society and how that kind of stuff. This stuff should just make us mad. It should make us angry that certain things are not being done right, and that certain things are not being done fast, and certain things are not being done efficient, and certain things are not being done the way things should be done. They're just not being done that way. And having righteous indignation is saying, this is how things should be done. It's not being done this way, and I'm mad because of it. That's righteous indignation, right? Okay, so now, on the other hand, you can have unrighteous indignation, which is the same as righteous indignation, except for it's basically what social justice warriors do, is they have unrighteous indignation. Basically, they see problems and they say that society should be this way because it's harming this group of people, when that group of people are sinners. So instead, they want us to accept this group of sinners and their lifestyles. And they have unrighteous indignation because people are not accepting of these sinners and their sinners' lifestyles. So that's kind of a little bit of difference here. The difference between righteous and unrighteous, or holy and unholy, indignation. So social justice warriors, they're unholy in the system where they want to protect sinners and sinners' lifestyles, well, and they claim that people who have holy, they're holy, that preach on sin and are convicted of sin and want to change people's lifestyles, they say that is harmful to them, and that is a bigot, being a bigot, and bigotry, or whatever words they want to use, right? They use all kinds of different words. So they say that's not being very inclusive, or that's not being very nice, or that's not being very whatever. In their perfect world, everyone would be accepting of everybody. Kind of deal, right? But in our world, and we want everybody to be biblically based, right? So we want everybody and everything to be based off of one religion, one Bible, one God, Christ Jesus, right? But they're saying, oh no, that's not that's exclusive and not inclusive, and that harms people that are not, that harms these people. Your God's mean and bad because of that, right? But actually, no, because that's not true. I mean, Is someone mean or bad because they want the best for you, or are they more mean and bad if they want you stuck in your ways and never to change? I would beg to differ that I would beg to say that you're less mean to a person by wanting them to change. That's love. Being mean to a person is accepting them the way they are and saying you're fine the way you are. It's cool. Be you. Do your own thing. Uh, you're cool. It's all good. Knowing that the things that they're doing is going to hurt them and harm them in the long run. That's being mean. Being loving is going, stop doing that. Don't do that. No, this is wrong. We need to change. You need to change. Society needs to change. Here's how you should be. Here's how you should act. Here's how you should do. This is what you need to do. You need to change to become a better person, to become a better human being. And this is the way to change. This is God's way of doing things. This is how you should do it. Right? So, yeah. All right, I've talked like 40 minutes long, and it's gone into various different discussion territories. It started off with like some things you women should do, and it merged into other stuff. But so yeah, so going to sign off now, and I'm going to say God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. Jesus loves you. Jesus is God. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is King. Jesus is ruler of everything. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hype, join. You know, whatever you want to do. And if you like these vlogs, you know, keep watching them and stuff. And don't even know what to title this video really, because it started off with advice. It started off with trying to give some women some advice, which kind of applies to men too, but then it merged into other stuff. So I'm just gonna say random advice. I might just title this video "Random Advice for Both Men and Women." But really, seriously, women, do better. I'm just saying, all you have to do is better. You keep saying men need to do better, but really, men are not the problem. Once you realize that men are not the problem and that men have already done better, you need to realize, wait, I need to take personal responsibility, personal accountability, and realize that we as women in general, especially feminism, is the problem, and we've got to change and fix it. Be the change you want to be is what they say, right? Well, if you want men to be better, you have to first be better. And you'll realize when in trying to improve yourself, you probably realize that men are not the problem. I know, hard thing for you to grasp, but men are not the problem. The majority of men are not the problem. The problem is there's probably maybe 1-2% tops of men that are doing these things that you call the problem. If you actually look through the statistics of everything and look through the statistics of men and go, well, okay, it's only blank percentage of men that are doing this. It's only blank percentage of men that are doing this. You will eventually find out, okay, it looks like men are not the problem. It looks like a very, very small percentage of men may be the problem. And then if you actually do a little more deeper research and find out why are these men doing the things that they're doing, if the percentage is increasing, is that not correlating to something else? Like when you study and do an investigation of something, you have to be like, okay, if more men are doing so and so, what happened to make more men do so and so? And you will, if you do enough study and investigation, you will find out that more men doing this type of stuff corresponds to more women doing this type of stuff. Okay? So if you think about it, it's your problem. You are the root cause of the problem. Feminism in general is the root cause of many of these problems. The fact that feminism exists and was created and is trying to get equality of the sexes and getting the women the right to vote and working in the same fields as men and all kinds of other stuff is why men are having the problems that we're having now. Men are having the problems because you are in the way. You're not in the traditional roles that you used to be in, but you still expect the men to provide the traditional roles for you when you won't be in this. Like, how can you expect men to provide for you? Okay, you want men to be traditional and provide traditional roles, but you don't want to put yourself back in the traditional role. You can't expect men to want to do the things men used to do if you aren't putting yourself back in the position that women used to be in. That's basically okay. So you can't blame everything on men when women now are in the workforce. When women demanded everything men have. When women, due to feminism, demanded equality and demanded to have everything men have, you now cannot blame men as the problem because you literally, because of equality and feminism, you literally have everything men have. Yet you're still wanting to blame men. How can you blame men for your problems when you now literally have the exact same rights, freedoms, responsibilities as men? You put it on yourself. That makes you the problem. You wouldn't have these problems if you would abandon feminism and embrace traditionalism. You wouldn't have these problems. Abandon feminism, abandon liberalism, embrace traditionalism, embrace conservatism, and embrace true Christianity. You want men to be the protectors, providers, and leaders of homes. You gotta let them be protectors, let them be providers, let them be leaders of the home. And to do that, you have to submit to their will in everything, legally, morally, everything. Right? You have to. The men have to be going to church and the Bible and getting that kind of stuff. Women have to be doing the same, and they have to be respecting all men. They have to be submitting all men. They have to allow men to have power and authority in all positions, business, religious, and especially political, government. Men have to control everything, and y'all have to be back down. If you want men to be leaders, you have to only allow men leaders. If you want men to be protectors, you have to allow only men protectors. If you want men to be providers, you have to allow only men to be in the workplace to provide. You cannot want everything men have and then expect the same men to give you the same things. You have to do your role as women if you want men to do their role as men. It's literally that simple. Go back, go back to the days pre-feminism, pre-equality, all that. Go back to that, and give men their patriarchy back. The there was no problem under the patriarchy. The patriarchy wasn't the problem. The abolishment of the patriarchy and creating an equality of the sexes, and then it's not even about equality of the sexes now. It's about equity of the sexes, and it's about trying to establish a global or a national or whatever matriarchy. You're trying to replace the patriarchy with a matriarchy, and you're wondering why we're having so many problems. You're the problem. Take personal responsibility, take personal accountability, and allow men to be in charge again. And and see how society will change back. And see how we won't have as many problems. We didn't have as much alcoholism until women decided to go to clubs. Men drank a little bit, but you know what caused all these clubs? Let's just have a history lesson. What caused clubs? What caused nightclubs? What caused the local bar where someone went to the local bar, they drank one beer, maybe that all, and well, traditionally, you want to know why people drink beer? Well, historically speaking, people drink beer because the beer the stuff in the alcohol would kill the contaminants in the water. So for a long time in history we didn't have running water and we didn't have clean water, so people drank beer, and the beer the contaminant the beer would kill the contaminants in the water. That is what it would do, and that's why people drink beer. Nowadays it's due to technology. We now have clean water, we have clean running water, and we have healthy water, and we really don't need anything killing the contaminants because we kill the contaminants at the in the water purification process at the water purification plants and stuff, right? So we actually also have things called there's water purification tablets. You can buy them and you can use them now so that you can make even the water out in nature clean. So you don't need beer. But that being said, the reason we have, oh, by the way, prohibition was caused by a bunch of women thinking they knew what was better for men. They got prohibition passed before they got the right to vote. Think about this. Women had voices that somehow was able to get prohibition passed before they even got the right to vote. So giving y'all the right to vote is not what gave y'all voices. Y'all had voices before that. I digress. We're just going to throw in a little history lesson for you. Clubs were created because of prohibition. You used to have the bar. The bar where people would go, they would hang out with the guys. It was a male only space for the most part. Maybe they had a little bit of dancing. It may have had a little gambling. There was maybe a little bit of vice, right, at the bar. But the local bar, on average, and the local bar still on average, if you were to go to a bar, is mostly men. Clubs, on the other hand, have a bunch of women dressed provocatively and being promiscuous. But the average local bar is just few people drinking some alcohol after work because they want to do something and get the edge off, right? Okay. Uh, I don't drink personally, but I've been to a local bar, and they got pool tables, and it's like, why do we not have? It's like, I just throw this tangent out there, but more Christians need to open up some like places for Christians to hang out at, where guy Christians can just hang out that doesn't necessarily have alcohol. Like, why are there not like more, I don't know, sober bars? Like, why is there not like more like just pool halls that and other entertainment places where people can just go hang out and play, games or whatever, that doesn't have to involve having alcohol? Like, why can't we take these things that are in the bars and put them in places that are outside the bars? Why can't we, and why do we have to make it family friendly? I mean, the idea, why can't we just make it sober? Why can't we just make sober places for men to hang out at? Like Christian men hanging out at sober places where they have, like, you know, pool. And it doesn't even have to be for Christian. Why can't we just have basically places for men to hang out at that are men only spaces where men can hang out, not with alcohol, but just to play like games, darts, pool, billiards, stuff like that, right? Shot put, uh, uh, cornhole, whatever, right? Why can't we just have these? Why can't we have these? All right, that don't have alcohol involved, by the way. Why can't we just have stuff like that? This is a good question. We used to have places like that were, but but we don't have those places again because women keep coming in our spaces. They get mad. They get mad at us when we go into their spaces. But if but it's okay. They can come into our spaces. That's part of the problem. Again, women are the problem. Feminism is the problem. Equality is the problem. Equity is the problem. These are all the problem, not the solutions. We actually didn't have problems. The whole entire idea of feminism is the created problem. But anyway, which is the idea that it's a created problem. Women created a problem that they thought they could fix when there wasn't a problem to begin with at all. And by trying to fix the problem that they created, they've only created more problems and made it worse on both men and women in general. That's what feminism did. So clubs were created because of prohibition. So when it became illegal, basically, to sell alcohol, it also created more vices. So basically, now a man couldn't just go to his local pub and drink one beer and then go home after work, right? Or he couldn't go to buy alcohol at the local liquor store, right? So now what you did was you had to they created underground clubs. It's where the flapper movement came about. The flappers were the first, basically, 304s. They were the first modern day-ish 304s. They were openly sexual. They were openly sexual because they were also drinking alcohol and getting drunk, and alcohol and females don't mix. It makes them horny, and not think straight with their head. And since women already think emotionally, you give alcohol to women who are thinking emotionally, it makes them horny. They will have they will fall in love faster, and they will also fall in hate faster. So women are like terrible angry drunks. They're the worst, but they're also the horniest drunks. Um, they become very promiscuous when they are on the alcohol, and they also become very angry when they're on the alcohol, or they become very sad and emotional when on the alcohol. So women probably shouldn't be drinking. Men usually tend to men that are do drink alcohol. Most men that I know of that drink alcohol, they will drink one beer and they will take an hour, one or two beers, and they will take 1 to 2 hours to just sit on that beer. And they will just drink and enjoy and not do anything. They just want to drink a little bit to get a little bit of edge off. They just want to sit back, drink, and not do nothing. That's them. Now, then you got the alcoholics, like extreme alcoholics. They're terrible. Yeah. That's the ones that just drink too much till it controls every part of them. But from a historical, traditional point of view, most men would get like one beer. They would say hi to their buddies at the bar. Then they would go home. They would maybe tell their bartender their problem or something bad or something that happened to them that day, and they would be like, eh. And you didn't need psychiatrists because you told other men, hey, this is what happened to me today. And the other men were like, hey, that's happened to me before. And, we had a male safe space, right? For a lack of a better word, we had male-only safe spaces. Women didn't come into the bars. Because when women came into the bars, they finally showed up and they were like, this place is terrible, right? And then next thing you know, they're pushing women came into bars. Next thing you know, they're pushing prohibition on us. Then the women that actually wanted to be drinking and promiscuous went to the bars. They were already and the clubs. They were already okay. They were already the bad girls. Problem is we didn't get rid of the clubs when we got when we got rid of prohibition. We didn't get rid of the clubs. The prohibitionists that were breaking the law just opened up nightclubs instead. And they went from one group of, dancers to another group of dancers to another group of dancers, and it just kept getting more and more free, more and more loose women, right? Started off with light dancing, flapping, then later turned into burlesque, and then turns into stripping. You see how it progresses, right? Comes as a nightclub, which just becomes a nightclub, which is first just alcohol, then becomes into a gambling hall, casino, and nightclub, bar and grill, slowly influencing itself into society everywhere. Yeah. And stripping becomes men's magazines and Playboys and pornography, and then that goes to goes from the pictures to the videos and filming it. Again, you started it. Women started it all. It's all your problem. All of it. All because prohibition. You started all this at Prohibition. Then you fought for equality under the law, the right to vote. Then you kept fighting for more and more and more and more. Feminism is like the book. You give a mouse a cookie, right? Women are just like the mouse, and they give the mouse a cookie. You give them a cookie, they want a glass of milk. You give them that, they want something else. They want another cookie, and so on. And they want this, and they want more, 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 more. The more you give them, the more they want. So what you have to do as a man is you have to give them less. Less attention, less this, less everything. Less money, less attention, less status, less celebrity, less fame. Give them less, and they won't. Then they have to do more because they want you more to get, so they can get more from you. So that's why women like guys that treat them kind of women simps are the ones that keep giving women more and more and more and more and more, while the men that don't give women those kinds of things, they are more attracted to people who don't give them what they want, because women want what they can't have. It's and then when they get what they can't have, they don't know what to do with it. Oh, excuse me. Wow, that was a good fart. Excuse me on that fart. So women either A, want what they can't have, and then if they do acquire it, women want what they shouldn't have. It's not that women want what they can't have. It's more on the ground of women want what they shouldn't have. And then when they get it, they don't know what to do with it, and they don't know how to use it correctly and use it accordingly. So men, on the other hand, give women what they shouldn't be giving men because they simp, and men then have the tendency to be stupid in the woman area regarding women, to the point where we stop thinking with our top head and we start thinking with our bottom head. So men, think with your top head, not your bottom head. And anyway, and we get to the point where men know, okay, women are the problem, but I'm thinking with my bottom head and not my top head. So men should have realized early on that giving women, we did when it came to Prohibition. Men was like, wait a minute, this is costing too much money to enforce, and we could make more money by just letting alcohol be legal and putting tax on it. And we was like, hey, that's a smart idea, and we repealed Prohibition. Men got smart. We didn't listen to the women. The women were wrong. We knew the women were wrong, but for some stupid reason, we decided, wait a minute, we're going to listen to women again and give them the right to vote. It seems like men just didn't figure it out the first time. They were like, okay, women were wrong about Prohibition. They obviously are going to be wrong about this right to vote thing. Which they are, and they were. And it's been a total detriment to society ever since. Men collectively everywhere agreed that men should have the right to vote. First, they agreed that only property owners should have the right to vote. Then they agreed, well, men contribute to society even if they don't own property. Let's give them all the right to vote. Then men eventually collectively decided, you know what? Black men also contribute to society. They're no longer slaves. They haven't been slaves for a while. Let's give them the right to vote too. But women were the ones who pushed for the right to vote, not men. Women pushed for Prohibition. They got that one wrong. Then they pushed for the right to vote. And again, they got that one wrong too. So everything women push for, they get wrong. And that's what causes more problems in society. So women, do us a favor. Stop. Do us a favor. Stop. Reverse. Do a 180. Repent of your evil, sinful, wicked ways, of everything that you've done. to society that's caused us harm, and start listening to men again. Be like, see, like if men had realized that y'all were producing and being good, productive members of society on your own, men might have finally decided to give y'all the right to vote on your own. But you would have had to prove it, and you weren't proving it. You really didn't prove it very good. You had a really super epic mistake. We gave you a chance, and instead of going, here's what men should have did way back in the olden days. Men should have been like, look, girls, y'all screwed up with the prohibition and got that wrong. We are not giving you the right to vote because we already got an amendment passed because of you women to get rid of alcohol because it was evil and sinful, and y'all just made it worse. So we're not going to give you the right to vote because y'all made it worse with the prohibition thing. No. That's what men should have did. Men should have collectively said, since women screwed up on the prohibition thing, we now know that they will be wrong on everything else in the future. So we are going to pass a new law that says women will never have opinions where they can influence politics. That's what we should have did. Instead of giving the right to the women the right to vote, we should have created a constitutional amendment to never give women the right to vote or any other political power or opinions whatsoever, because they screwed up on prohibition. They screwed up on prohibition, which means they screwed up. They screwed up on prohibition. Like all of modern feminism's problems can be found and rooted back to prohibition. All of them. Like the women's suffrage movement goes all the way back to prohibition. They got prohibition passed. It was terrible. It was a terrible, bad idea. And ever since, feminism has only been coming up with worse and worse and worse and more terrible, bad ideas. Like, if prohibition was never existed, we would probably not have the modern day nightclub that we have today. We probably wouldn't have casinos. We wouldn't have gambling. The one vice being illegal, and then the fact that it was illegal, and people had to hide the vice that they were doing. And then they had to go to these speakeasies, where the speakeasies was like, well, okay, if one thing's illegal, and we're already breaking this law, why don't we just break some more laws by adding gambling to the mix, and adding basically prostitution to the mix, because that's what bringing girls to the clubs was. I mean, having females at the clubs that dressed scantily, right, was basically the earliest version of promiscuity and prostitution, and basically porn is the earliest version of porn, right? I know we had stuff like that pre-prohibition days too, but if we're going to root everything to modern day problems, it's all rooted to feminism and prohibition, and then nightclubs. And then you gave women the worst possible jobs. You gave them the job of the psychiatrist, the bartender, right? And now women are hearing more and more and more and more problems from men. And they go, well, they think they know better, and they think they can solve these problems. And so they decide that they need the right to vote. And then they decide that they need the right to be able to run for office, and so that they can fix these problems. So you can root all the problems to feminism. Like every modern problem of today is feminism. Feminism is a problem. You wouldn't have abortions. You wouldn't have adoptions agencies with a whole bunch of child. You wouldn't even need child protective services. That wouldn't even exist today. Um, like none of these things would exist today if we didn't have feminism. All the things that are causing super loads of problems that only cause more and more problems, we wouldn't even have a system of what current modern liberalism is. The left would not even exist without feminism. We might have a Democrat Party and a Republican Party, and they might see a little different because we've always had a Republican and Democrat Party, basically. The Republicans used to actually not be called Republicans. The Republicans are actually a resurgence of I believe the Whig Party. Um, we had Democrat Republicans and we had Whigs, and the Republicans are actually a re-changing of the Whig Party. We actually had what would Madison's and Jefferson's. Madison and Jefferson didn't necessarily see eye to eye, and they one was more pro-republic and the other one was more pro-democracy, and that's kind of how we got the Republican and Democrat parties now. They were mostly saw eye to eye, but one was more for the federal government to do more, and the other one was for the federal government to do less. And so one was more. So basically, the main issues of politics were how big should the federal government be compared to the local government, and how should the federal government have more power or the state governments have more power? Should we be more of a democracy or should we be more of a republic? These were basically the main problems with. And the parties weren't as different and opposed to each other as they are now, as they were then. And the parties would have still been pretty much basically the same. The parties are also divided over like freedom thing. Um, they're divided over how much freedom. It's more like a freedom versus. It's like freedom versus a responsibility thing. So they agree they should have a lot of freedom, but they also want to make sure people are responsible. Also, they were kind of divided over like religion and how powerful the Christian religion per se, especially Christian religion. Like they were divided over should religion be public or private. Um, they were kind of divided that religion should be both public and private, but they're kind of like how public should religion be? You know, how powerful should we let religion be in society? Is that kind of deal, and those are basically the main issues with the early, early politics. And those would probably still be the issues. Other small, minor issues are when should America intervene, in, things. How powerful on the world stage should our country be? Those were various different things that we had and we discussed in politics for the majority of the time. The left or the Democrat Party has gone further and further and further and further and further left because of feminism. Like, literally, it's all because of feminism. While the right has actually gone less and less right. I mean, the goalpost keeps going to the left because of the Democrat Party, and then that makes the Republican Party actually, if you think about it, the Republican Party is the more the better party on the ground that the further back you go Republican, the more far right extremists they are. If you think about it, the current Republican Party is just Democrats from the 70s and 80s and stuff, right? So if you keep thinking about it, the Republican Party just becomes what the Democrats used to be. I mean, the Republican Party just keeps being what the Democrats used to be. So if we keep pushing the goalposts like that, there will come a time when the Republicans of today won't even recognize the Republicans of our future, because if we don't stop the Democrats and the liberals and the feminism and bring everything back full circle how it used to be, we will have some serious problems. And really, the only people that can fix these problems, even though these problems were created by women, are men. Men are the only people who can fix these problems. And honestly, the only way men can fix these problems is if we get in power and put, and unfortunately, the only way men can fix these problems is if men get back in power and force women to do right. So we have to abandon the idea of allowing women to be our equals. We have to create, if men are to fix the problems, we have to get in society. We have to get in the government structure, and we have to make laws that destroy feminism. And ironically, if we make laws that actually support real true equality, we will, in essence, destroy feminism, because women will say, we don't want that. Women will fight back if they were to get true equality. They would be like, we don't want that. We don't want that. They're like, we do not want that. We do not want that. Women will not want that. Women do not want true equality. Because if we actually force true equality through the law, women will start saying, no, we don't want that. Because when you start asking women for actual equality, they tell you, well, they do not want that. That is not what they want. They do not want that. That's why they are not attracted to beta men. They're not attracted to simps. They're not attracted to simps that give them everything they want. They're also not attracted to beta men who are like, let's be equal. Yeah, that's like the most beta thing you can do, right? Is tell a girl, I want to be equal. That's why women are not attracted to Democrats. That's what even the liberal left Democrat women are not attracted to liberal left Democrat men. They're just not. I'm not answering phone calls. Sorry. Um. Anyway, that's pro. Golly, I've talked an hour and a half. Well, anyway, have a great day. Probably said it already once or twice, or this might be the third time. But remember, God's good all the time. All the time, God's good. Keep on gaming. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Jesus loves you. Jesus God. Jesus Lord. Jesus King. Jesus rule everything. And that's. I've talked long enough. Y'all probably won't even watch the video that long. Have a blessed day. Later.